Welcome back to the channel. Today we will be doing a deep dive on DataRaptor Turbo Extract. So we'll start by going over when and when not to use DataRaptor Turbo Extract and the advantages over DataRaptor Extract. This will be followed by hands-on exercises, and we'll also be covering briefly on how DataRaptor Turbo Extract integrate with other OmniStudio components like omniscript. I have also designed some hands-on challenges to help you master DataRaptor Turbo Extract. If you are looking to do the consultant or developer OmniStudio cert, pay extra attention to the first two sections, as there are usually 2 to 3 questions on use cases and advantages of DataRaptor Turbo Extract. With this, let's get started. Before we get into the use cases, let's do a quick revision on what is a DataRaptor Turbo Extract. So a DataRaptor Turbo Extract is a type of DataRaptor that extracts data from a single Salesforce object. It's like running a so-called query. If you haven't caught my video on OmniStudio Overview and DataRaptor Overview, check out episode 2 and episode 5 in the OmniStudio Beginner playlist, link in the description below and screen above. So when exactly can you use DataRaptor Turbo Extract? You can use it to retrieve data from a single object, like account or contact. You can retrieve fields in related parent objects, so it supports child-to-parent relationship queries. So it does not support formulas. If you need to manipulate data with formula, you need to use DataRaptor Extract. You cannot retrieve data from child object or child objects or multiple unrelated objects. For this, again, you need to use DataRaptor Extract, which I will cover in the next video. If you're looking to do the certification, consultant or developer OmniStudio, you need to be very familiar with this, and you need to have hands-on experience with these as well. So stick around for the hands-on exercise and the challenge. I believe it'll help you tremendously with your exams. So there are 2 major advantages to use DataRaptor Turbo Extract. It's simpler configuration, and it has better performance at runtime. Again, these are very popular exam questions. To navigate to the DataRaptor Designer, make sure you are in the OmniStudio app and select DataRaptor. You'll be able to see a list of DataRaptor API names, types, description, and who the last person modified the DataRaptor is. You can import here, and this is where you can create a new DataRaptor. Here you can enter the name of the DataRaptor you are creating, the type, in this case Turbo Extract. Input type will be working with JSON, output type as well, and it's always good to put some description here as well. So have a look at the DataRaptor name. It's best to follow a standard naming convention. What I usually do is I start with DR, DataRaptor, followed by a prefix, and this is usually the type of DataRaptor. In this case, it's Turbo Extract, T for Turbo, EXT for Extract. Object, we're going to be working with the contact object, and we're going to be getting contact details. So let's go and save. So here we are in the designer. You can see you have the ability to edit, which brings back to the previous screen. You can update the name, the DataRaptor type, and different input and output type. You can clone a DataRaptor. This is useful when you need to make another DataRaptor and you don't want to start the configuration from scratch. You can export it as well. Everything in OmniStudio is JSON based. So when you export it, you'll be exporting a JSON file. You can see the highlight panel over here displaying the name of the DataRaptor, interface type, input and output type. There are 3 tabs here: Extract, Options, and Preview. Extract is where you will be configuring the object that you are turbo extracting. Options, this is for advanced use cases. You can set the DataRaptor to check field level security. So what that means is it will check the user's access permission for the fields before executing the DataRaptor. You can also set the platform cache type. There are 2 types: session cache and org cache. You set it to session cache for data related to users and their login sessions. Org cache is for all other types of data. There is also an option for time to live in minutes. So this setting basically determines how long the data remains in the cache. You also have the Preview tab. This is where you'll be setting up input parameters, basically your test data. It can be a key value pair or it can be JSON as well. You have the response section, and also debug log and errors are also available for you to view. So before we get into the hands-on exercises, let's think of a scenario where a startup is aiming to keep the CEO's contact details updated on its support website. Instead of manual entry, the company decided to leverage its Experience Cloud site and OmniStudio. In this example, we will be using DataRaptor Turbo Extract to fetch details for the CEO. His name is Bob. And once we've done all the exercises, I'll be showing you how we can pass data that's fetched from the DataRaptor and pass that into the Flex card and display information. So we know DataRaptors can fetch data, and we can think of them as so-called queries. Before we start working on the DataRaptor, let's write a so-called query together. I believe this will help us a lot more in understanding how this relates to so-called query. Right, so this is the CEO we want to get the contact details of. We want to get the phone number and the email. So a so-called query will look like this. Select ID, name, email, phone from contact where name is Bob Young. When we run an export, you'll be able to see a table view over here. So we'll be doing something very similar to this in our DataRaptor Turbo Extract. Now let's build this DataRaptor Turbo Extract together, starting with the object, contact in this case. Select contact. This is followed by extract output path. This is basically the JSON node in the output. You can think of it as the name of the container that stores the query results. So best practice is to name it in a way that indicates the object that is getting turbo extracted from. I usually go with lowercase and plural to distinguish the output path with the actual object name. Filter is where you will be selecting the field you want to use as a condition for the query. So in this example, we want to use name as the filter. And another good point to make is when I design the DataRaptors, I usually have the Object Manager open, and this will allow me to look at the API names of the fields, because these API names are essentially what is being displayed over here. There's also operators that you can choose from, things like less than, bigger than, less than, equal to, like, and so whatever you have in your so-called queries, you can select it over here. In this case, we want to go with equal. And the last bit is the detail of the actual condition. We want to go with Bob Young. An important thing to know is that for literal values, you need to use the quotation mark. And there's more conditions like and, or, limit, offset, and order by, which we will cover in examples after this. There's the search objects option. We'll cover this in a bit, but this allows you to select fields from related parent objects. And search fields, these are the fields that you want to query from the object. In this case, we want to get the name, email, and phone number. So let's get the name, email, and phone number. So you can see this is basically writing a so-called query where you have the object over here, contact, the filter as your condition, and your operator, the details of your condition, the fields that you want to be displaying, and that's over here as well. Now let's run this DataRaptor turbo extract. So as you can see here, we are getting a response back with this context being the node for JSON, our JSON node. And this is what we've named the JSON node as context. And we are getting the name, the ID, phone number, and email. And it's matching with what we've got over here. One important thing to know is that there's the debug log over here, and it actually displays the query that we've written. And this basically matches this. And there's no errors, so we are all good. Now let's have a look at the JSON structure in a bit more detail. This is very important if you are looking to do the developer cert. There's going to be questions on this for sure. So the response JSON starts with the curly bracket followed by the JSON node, which you have specified in the extract output path here. This is followed by an array indicated by the curly bracket. Each record in the array is stored in curly brackets. Let's have a look at another use case. So what if now there's a change in the requirement? Instead of displaying Bob, we now want to display anyone that contains B in their name. So what we'll do is we'll change this operator to like. We'll still be displaying the same fields. And now let's have a look at preview. Now you'll be able to see that the array has increased in size with multiple records in here containing name with the letter B in here, Bob. There's Tim Bar as well, John Bond. So that's well and good. Let's have a look at debug log. You can see it's changed slightly from the first example. There's now another condition named like B. So now what if I want to see all the context? So the way to do that is to search for all the contact records with an ID. Because without ID, there's no record, right? So for the filter, we want to go with ID. And what we want to search for is that we want to search for contact records where the ID is not blank or null. And to do that, we use the not equal to sign. And we use the velocity.null with quotation mark to show it's to indicate it's blank. So context where ID is not blank. So if we execute now, we'll be able to see basically all the records that we have in the org. And in the query here, you can see the where condition has changed. It's changed to ID does not equal to null. So this configuration is actually quite a good one to start with when you are building your DataRaptor or when you are debugging, just to make sure your DataRaptor is indeed working and is indeed pulling data through. Right, let's now have a look at an example where we need to use multiple filters. So a situation might be, now I want to actually get all the contacts that have an account that's associated with it. So in the case of Bob, there's an account that's associated with Bob, in this case Edge Communication. So I want to get all the contacts that have the account name populated. So how do we actually achieve this? The existing DataRaptor will give us all the contact records. What we want to do to get all the contact records with an account associated with it is to add an AND condition where the account ID is not blank. This account ID is basically this account name field, and we mentioned earlier that everything in the filter dropdown is an API name. So if we go back to the object manager, we can see the account name has account ID as the API name, the field name. So this is how we know we've got the right filter. So in this case, we are also interested in account ID. So let's add that in here. And now let's go to the preview tab and execute. So now we can see the account ID is now appearing, and all of the records that we have fetched have an account ID. And let's have a look at the query. Select ID, email, account ID, phone, name from account where ID is not null and account ID is not null. So that looks pretty good to me. Let's circle back to the extract tab. So in the preview at the moment, there are a lot of records. So if I want to limit the records, I can add another condition here to limit the number of records that it'll be fetched. So now it's only fetching 3 records. What if for some reason I'm not interested in the first 2 and want to see the next 3, so position 3, 4, and 5? What I can do is I can apply an offset. So skip the first 2 result and display the other 3 that's on the list. So this is how you can make use of the offset here. If we want to order things by a field, let's order by last name. And you can see it's by default ascending order. To apply descending order, simply add this keyword over here. And you'll be able to see now it's been flipped. Now, what if there's a new requirement that we need to add another tab on the company's website and a flex card displaying all the contractors that are working for a particular company? How do we actually set up the filter so we can filter on the account information? So earlier in the video, I mentioned that DataRaptor Turbo Extract can extract information or data from a single object. It can also extract data related fields on related parent object. So this is what we'll be covering now. So to achieve this, we can use fields in related objects in filters, such as parent.name, but you have to enter them manually, so it will not automatically come up. And this is what we call relationship notation. Remember these terms, as this term is quite important, especially if you're looking to do the exam. So what we'll do here is we're trying to filter based on the name of the account. Start with account and the field. And to double check this, let's go to the account object manager, making sure the API name for the account name is correct. So name, that's correct in this case. And we want to get all the contractors that are working for accounts that contains oil in there. So let's have a look. So now we are able to see all the contacts. They are working for accounts with the name oil in there. It's not very obvious at the moment because we haven't included the name of the account. So this is what we'll do. So to query objects from related parent objects, we need to come back to the extract tab, and under the related objects tab, let's select contact.account. You'll notice that once I selected this, I'll have more options. And this is what we talked about earlier, that this supports multiple hierarchies. And you'll notice here the search fields, we have a lot more options now, and all the fields from accounts are appearing. So for example, let's include the account name in here. We can also include the account shipping address. And now when we go to the preview tab, click on execute, you'll notice that the JSON structure is now changed slightly. We still have the arrays for the contacts and all the contact information, but now we have account information as well. So we can see account, the name of the account, the ID, and all the details around the shipping address. Another thing to pay attention is the so-called query. So now it's becoming select ID, email, account ID, account.shipping-address, phone, account.name, name, phone, contact, where account.name, like oil. So up until now, everything has been pretty much hard-coded. What if we want to be more dynamic? What if there is a use case where on the company's website there is a search bar, and on the search bar people are searching for employee's name? So what do we do in this case? We can use a DataRaptor to fetch the data by grabbing user's input. So to make it dynamic, this is what we can do. So let's change the filter first to name, because this is what the user will be searching. And we want to use the like operator. Let's go for search name as a variable name. So notice that I haven't got quotation mark around this because this is a variable as opposed to a string. Let's go to the preview tab. So this is in the input parameter. You'll notice there's a key and value pair. The key is basically your variable that's over here, and the value is what in this case what the user will be typing. So let's start with everyone that has a content in the name. And now you are able to see everyone that has a content in their name in the result. And we can actually call this whatever we like. We can change this to keyword, put it over here, and we can be a bit more specific. Rows, and here we go, returning name containing rows. But again, going back to best practice, it's good to keep the variable name sensible. So one thing to know here is that the key here the variable doesn't actually appear in the query. What appears in the query is what the value you have assigned to the variable, in this case, rows. Now let's have a look at a complex scenario. What if on the website it's giving you a complex data structure like this? So instead of getting the keyword straight from the search bar, it actually has another level in the JSON node. So first level is search bar. You can think of that as the first container. The second container is keyword, and the value is rows. So if we do an execute here, you will get an error. No valid data is returned. So what do you think the reason is? So the reason is that if we go back to the extract tab, it's actually looking for the keyword as a variable or parameter. And over here, because the keyword is in another structure or in another node, it's not able to find it. You can think of this as having the keyword hidden inside another container. And this particular query is looking for the keyword container, and of course it can't find it because it's been hidden. So what if we apply some structure to it? We put search bar in front of the keyword followed by a dot. So let's see what happens. So we are still getting an error, and the reason for that is because JSON is different to Apex or in Salesforce where you use dot to access attributes. In JSON, you actually need to use the column symbol. And this is very important, especially if you are looking to do the developer cert. There's definitely going to be questions on the JSON structure and how to access JSON nodes. And yeah, as you can see, we are now getting the data that we need. So how do we actually pass this information from the DataRaptor into other OmniStudio components, like flexcards? So what I've done is I've simplified this DataRaptor, so we are only fetching details from rows. And let's go to flexcard and create a new one. So don't worry if you are not following this part of the tutorial. I'll be doing a deep dive into flexcard in the upcoming weeks, so just follow along for now. So display rows, display contact details from rows. Always good to put some description in there. Click next. What we want to do is we want to select DataRaptor as the source type. And this is where good naming standard is important. Turbo extract, contact details, select this, click on next, next. You can see a flexcard has been created. So in the flexcard, I'll need to go to setup and just check my data source again, DataRaptor, and this is the correct name. If I go save and fetch, you'll see we are getting the JSON here, and however we are not getting the data through. So to get that through, we will need to first put the result JSON path. Again, I'll go into this in a bit more detail, but for now we just need to do this to be able to get our data from the DataRaptor to a table, so we can display that. And when we come back to build, you'll see all the fields are now appearing. Can drag that onto the card, and so this is not very pretty at the moment, but these are the elements and things that you can make this a lot more prettier. But for now, we just need to demonstrate how the data is being passed. So if I go into preview, now it's generating the LWC, and once this is done, we'll be able to see the information that we've got from the DataRaptor that we've created here. So this is basically a LWC that you can embed inside Salesforce on a landing page, or you can actually publish this once you've activated. You can publish this onto a community site, and if you are familiar with how communities work, you can basically drag and drop LLWC components as well. Again, I'll be making a lot more videos about flashcards in the upcoming weeks, so be sure to subscribe and stay tuned. As promised, I've prepared 5 hands-on challenges for you, and feel free to give them a go and leave in the comments below if you have any questions, or you want to copy paste your DataRaptor response in the comments. I can check them for you as well. So coming up, this is an easy one to start with, using Turbo Extract to fetch case records and the following fields. This one is slightly harder, using Turbo Extract to fetch 3 case records and the following fields, and order the records by case number in descending order. Number 3, Turbo Extract to fetch case records and the following fields where the industry field on account object is determined by a variable named account industry. Add key value pair as the input parameter to test the DataRaptor. This is a tricky one for those that are up for it. Using Turbo Extract to fetch case records and the following fields where the industry field on account object is electronics. ID, case number, account number from the account object, industry from the account object, name from the contact object. Challenge number 5, use the DataRaptor you have completed for challenge number 4 and take the following as your input JSON. And that's it. Good luck. To recap, you need to remember 4 things about DataRaptor Turbo Extract. First one is it can get data from a single object and associated fields from related parent objects. It has better performance and simpler configuration compared to DataRaptor Extract. You can query child objects or object with DR Turbo Extract, and there is no formula support. So it's a bit like DataRaptor Chef that's very good at cutting one ingredient, the tomato. I hope you have enjoyed the video and found it helpful. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. Please also remember to like and subscribe, as I'll be producing more OmniStudio related content in the upcoming weeks. So stay tuned. Bye!